Great. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you so much to the Belinda Stronach Foundation and to all of the partners and the organizers, and a special huge thank you to Farah Mohammed, who is organizer extraordinaire. Really, thank you. And just a huge welcome to the young women in the front row. I think I speak for all of us on this panel when I say that we so need to hear your voices and your visions and your wisdom and your experience, and we are really just so looking forward to hearing from all of you today. We, over coffee this morning, were reading what a few of you had to say in the newspaper about how you would answer this question, and we were cheering over our cornflakes. So I'm sure that all of you will have equally great things to say, so thank you. Okay, so this is a really easy question. What is the greatest challenge facing girls and women today? I'm going to just focus on one of the challenges facing girls today, which I believe really intersects with all others. From Afghanistan to Algeria, from the United States to the United Kingdom, from South Africa to Sierra Leone, from Mexico to Maldives, from Thailand to Trinidad, girls are not safe. Girls and young women are not allowed to live their lives free from violence or the threat or fear of violence. And that, I believe, is the most pressing challenge facing not only girls and women today, but facing our entire world today. Because when girls and women are not safe, we all suffer. Women suffer, men suffer, boys suffer, families suffer, community suffers, nations suffer, the entire world suffers. Let me just share a few facts with you. Globally, we know that half of all sexual assaults happen to girls under the age of 15. In Swaziland, 1 out of every 3 girls described her first sexual experience as forced. And in the Caribbean, it's even more dire, where 48% of girls describe their first sexual experience as forced. Nearly half of girls in most developing countries are married before they turn 20. For these girls, the refusal to have sex with their husbands, who are often much, much older than them, is not an option. More than a third of those in the sex industry in India entered as children. For many, this is around age 11. The life of a girl is often riddled with trapdoors, fetching wood or water rather than learning to read or write, violence in or on the way to school, being sold into prostitution or married off to a much older man, child pregnancy, HIV/AIDS. These all send girls into a downward spiral. The good news is that these trapdoors can be closed. So how do we do that? I'm going to outline 3 main recommendations to ensure that girls, all girls, can grow up in safety and with dignity. But the overall recommendation, which flows through all of these, is the following. We need to give girls assets other than their bodies. Resources in the hands of girls can shift the equation in her favor. Girls are subjected to violence in large part because literally the only asset they have is their body. So recommendation number 1, we must change the equation by giving girls economic assets such as job skills, access to savings, a chance to make a decent, non-exploitative living. How many girls would have sex with their teachers in exchange to stay in, for their how many girls would have sex with teachers to stay in school if they had another source of income to pay their school fees? How many girls would be selling sex in the brothels of Mumbai if they had an opportunity to make a living off something other than their bodies? We know economic assets of her own, make girls less vulnerable to violence. We saw it in the Girl Effect video. We've also seen it on the ground. For example, in Bangladesh, an NGO called BRAC is pioneering a microfinance program for girls that includes financial literacy, life skills, and safe spaces. More than 40,000 girls have taken loans to start microcredit enterprises, earning income that gets them back in school and also helps pay their siblings' expenses as well. Let me share the story of Sanchita with you. Born into poverty, Sanchita did not have money for school, for clothes, for food. As part of the BRAC program, she received a small loan to buy a cow. She sold the cow's milk and used that money to pay for her brother and her tuition. Through BRAC, she also learned skills that have enabled her to grow her own vegetable garden and have continued to earn an income for herself and her family. Sanchita and the other girls in the BRAC program have assets other than their bodies, and that has helped to keep them safe. Recommendation number 2. Girls need other kinds of assets too. Social assets. Girls in particular need safe spaces to be girls. Earlier this year, I visited Liberia, where I met with a small groups of teenage mothers who were in a program providing safe spaces to girls who were mothers. When I asked these girls what was hard about being a girl, almost all of them had the same answer. They said, "You get beaten and raped and no one respects you. You get taken advantage of." Almost all of them, this was the answer that these groups of girls gave over and over. And when I asked the girls what was good about being a girl, they similarly had an almost unanimous answer, which was twofold. They said the 2 best things about being a girl are, 1, that you have an opportunity, possibly, to go to school, that was the best thing. And the other best thing about being a girl was the opportunity to be in this group. This group provided the opportunity to break the isolation that so many girls face. Perhaps most striking to me was that many of the girls in this group weren't mothers at all. And when I asked them why they were here in a group for teenage moms, their answer was that they really just wanted a chance to be in a group with other girls. They really just wanted to be in a group. These girls would find any way possible to find a safe space to be with other girls. And I think this speaks volumes about the need for all girls to connect with one another and to have that kind of space. And I would argue that this is as true in Monrovia, Liberia, as it is in Brooklyn, New York, where I live, or in Toronto, Canada, where we are today. Now, this can sound like kind of a soft intervention, but I assure you it's not. The need for social networks is so critical, particularly for the most marginalized girls who are often isolated from their peers. Girls who are working as domestic workers in someone else's home, girls who are not in school, girls who are married to a much older man. You know, this is an opportunity to break the isolation for those girls. We've seen the power of this intervention in many places. Most recently, when I was in Ethiopia and visited a program, Beru Tesfa, where girl domestic workers had the opportunity to connect with each other, to share information, to learn, to build resilience and strength. That is, to build up that which is broken down for so many girls. This is a low-cost intervention with potential for big returns. And the third recommendation I'd like to make is the following. Boys and men must be engaged and supported to become allies for girls and women. Attitudes matter. When boys and men think of girls as less than, this directly impacts the girls around them. Men and boys are the gatekeepers in the decision-making process. They are fathers, teachers, peers, whose beliefs are key to shaping the experiences of girls around them. Engaging men and boys and helping them to see that empowerment of girls is good for girls and for boys and men is critical to changing the situation for girls. The good news is that attitudes and behaviors can change. We've seen it happen. The Family Violence Prevention Fund runs a fantastic program which was first launched in the US called Coaching Boys into Men. This program helps empower coaches to talk to boys about the unacceptability of violence and the importance of treating girls with respect. Before launching this program, Family Violence Prevention Fund did lots of research with boys and asked them, who would you listen to? Who makes a difference? If you hear something from someone, who is the most important person who can give you a message? And overwhelmingly, what boys said is coaches. We trust our coaches. What our coaches tell us really matters. We believe them when they tell us things. And so this program really built on the relationships that coaches have with their athletes and use that as an opportunity to empower coaches with the skills to talk to their team members about really important issues like respect for girls. And now a similar model is being used in India, where cricket gatherings are used as an occasion of constructive discussion about masculinity and about gender roles. Men and boys who participate in programs like these are men who might think differently about hurting girls or women and might be champions for the right of every girl and woman to be safe. So in closing, let me say the following. Violence against girls and women is a huge barrier to creating the kind of world we all want to live in. And one of the biggest challenges we face in our efforts to ending violence is changing the mindset that says that violence is acceptable or inevitable. And neither is true. The good news is that violence is 100% preventable. We can end violence against girls and women if we as a global community commit to doing that. And the fact is that the cost of the status quo is extraordinary, and the payoff, if we change course, enormous. When all girls and women live in safety, free from all forms of violence, we will truly unleash the girl effect like we have never seen before, and the world will never be the same. Thank you.